And when I first went to buy it, the man that sold it to me said, once you've driven a Porsche, you won't want to drive anything else. Which is, I found really true. There's nothing that holds the road the same as a Porsche, and I'm very proud of it. I didn't always want a Porsche, but I've always liked nice cars, and this one just happened to turn up at the right time. It's a Porsche 911T. I started off with the Hillman Imp when I was 17. Then I moved on to a Ford Corsair. I had a nice 1600E gold Cortina, and then 2 Jaguar XJ6s, and also I had an MGB GT. I bought the car in 1981. I was 30 years old, and I bought it from a garage in Northampton called Specialist Cars. Drove past this garage one day and it was in the window, and I thought, that's the car for me. So I went in and found out how much it was, and it was just about what I could afford at the time. The price was £3,750. When I purchased it, it all looked very nice, and I drove it for about 4 or 5 years before it started to fall apart, or rust away, should I say. Didn't have an awful lot of money, so I used to try and do as much work as I could myself. The bodywork, I think probably all the wings have been replaced, and when I first bought the car, it had a hole cut in the roof where somebody had put a fabric sunroof in it, so I'd had that welded all back up. It took me a long time to get the car finished, or what I thought was finished. It stayed in the garage for probably 5 or 6 years, and people used to think he's never ever going to finish that car, but I was determined to get it finished in the end. Coming back from work one day, I had a problem with the engine, and the carburettor used to backfire, and it had melted the trumpet off inside the carburettor, and it had gone down into the pistons. So at that stage, I decided to take the engine out and rebuild it myself. It's quite a simple engine to tear down. It's not like a modern engine with all the electronics and everything on it. So I took it all apart, and I found out I took all the parts over to Francis Tuthill in Banbury, and he says, oh, you need a new one of those, you need a new one of those, you need to replace that, you need to replace this. And he went off into his little spares workshop, and he'd got all the parts out for me, and he charged me a lot less than what he normally would charge somebody, so he was really helping me out. His parts person who worked in the office at the time, called Paul, was a bit disgruntled at the prices Francis was charging me for these parts. So if he hadn't have helped me out, I don't think I'd have got it finished. After that had happened, the car started to sink into the floor at the back, as if the suspension was dropping. And I took it back over to Francis, and all the back bodywork that was holding the torsion bar up was rotting away. So eventually, Francis had put a new floor, a new torsion bar supports in for me, and he charged me about £6,000, which was all the money I'd got in the world, but it kept the car on the road. The only other thing I could have done was probably scrapped it. I used to go everywhere looking for parts. I used to leave the market and go to Bedford in the lorry, and you'd go there and it was in like a paddock of a pub, and you see like a Porsche set out, wings, doors, all dismantled in front of you, like, and you could buy anything you wanted. And Francis used to be over there. He was buying everything he could buy, buying all sorts of things. Oh, I used to race back down that through to Lawford, didn't I, along that back road? Oh, bloody hell, I'd have half a bottle of bloody Southern Comfort every night. No. I can remember coming up to go to Lawford one day. I come out down by the cement works, and I come past the cement works, and I put my foot down before I turned right, and the policeman pulled me up just round the corner. He just said, "You accelerated a bit fast up there, didn't you?" And that was all he said to me. The actual exhaust that come off the engine, they are made by Auto Farm. That was their manufacture, but it had rotted away around the edges. I had that new exhaust box on the back. That was when I had that. I had quite a bit of work done down at Halfway House, didn't I? I always used to drive it quite tentatively. You know, if it was ever wet or anything, I never used to be silly in it, because if I smashed it up, I probably couldn't afford to have it repaired. I've driven fast in it when I felt safe to drive fast in it. I've never been stupid in it. It's not very often I go out, but I do go to the shows now, and it's always quite an interest to a lot of people. It may not be the most expensive Porsche there, but it's quite original, so it still causes quite a lot of interest. Well, a couple of years ago, I passed it over to my son because he's really interested in fast cars, and I thought he'd look after it for me. It does need a new spray job. It could do with tarting up. The bodywork is all very solid now because most parts have been replaced, but I know he'll look after it for me. It lives in my garage. I'm still insured on it, and I can drive it any time I like.